Much.
Now, you published this manifesto yesterday, and it's got this, what I reckon is meant to be the average British family looking to the sunny uplands if there's another 5 years of Labour government.
Sun always shines under Labour.
Yes, and tax always and tax always goes up. That average family is now paying almost £1,000 a year more in tax than they did in 1997. Is that fair?
No, I don't think that is fair. And the overriding priority, Andrew, as you know, is to halve the deficit by 2014 and to make sure that tax is levied in a way which is fair, which is why the top rate of tax has been increased with effect almost from this week. How
much tax by 2014 will that family on the cover of your manifesto be paying?
I can't tell you
well, I will. It will, on average, given all the tax rises you've announced, at the moment they're paying around £1,000 more than 1997. By 2014, it'll be over £1,400 more. That's not in the manifesto.
Now, look, you can't possibly expect me to answer that question on the basis. I mean, I don't know what the circumstances of that.
Well, that's the tax burden, and these are the figures. These are figures worked out by the Institute of Fiscal Studies. They show that that families are paying £31 billion more in tax this year compared with when you came to power, and when other tax rises kick in, that you've said, by 2014. They'll be paying £45 billion more, £1,400 per family. Is that fair?
No, I don't recognise that figure.
Well, it's because you don't give it in the manifesto.
No, I don't recognise that figure, but what I do know, and what is very clearly set out in our manifesto, is that the tax burden will be borne fairly. And I think the other thing that you have to factor in to what will be important to that family is, first of all, the prospect of staying in employment, and if the mother or the father loses their job, getting back into work quickly. Unemployment is considerably lower now than would have been the case at the beginning of the recession had we not invested in the kind of policies to help people find another job if they have lost a job as a result of the downturn.
What is fair about, never mind those in the 50% rate, we know they're going to pay more. What is fair about the average family under a Labour government, if re-elected, ending up paying £500 more in tax a year by 2014?
Andrew,
what's fair about that? That's the average family.
Andrew, I'm not going to contest those figures with you.
Well, we're simply using them from the IFS.
Because I simply do not recognise them. But what the average family wants, and, you know, I get this on the doorstep all the time. They want to know what the impact of the tax burden under a Labour government would be for them. They will ask exactly the same questions of the Tories. They will get a very clear answer from Labour, which is a very clear commitment not to raise the basic rate of income tax.
But they'll still pay more tax. Well, you say that.
But the second point, you've got to see this answer in 2 points, but in two parts. Okay. The second part is that what that average family cares about is the level of investment in the services on which they depend. They want to know that the frontline provision in their child's school, the classroom assistants and the teachers, that will continue, and that improvement in standards of achievement for children will continue to improve. So the average family sees this in two ways.
Well, the average family isn't being told how much extra tax. No, I want to move on.
The average family has been given very clear commitments.
You cannot tell the average family how much extra tax they've got to go to the IFS.
Because I simply don't recognise the figures.
Well, they're on the website of the Institute for Fiscal Studies.
But I can tell you what the commitments are in our manifesto.
Let's look at the commitments, because you make a lot of promises in this manifesto, but you made a lot of promises in 2005 manifesto that you have yet to deliver in. In 2005, you promised a low-debt, high-employment economy. That hasn't happened. ID cards will be rolled out. That hasn't yet happened. No increase in the basic or top rates of income tax in the next Parliament. You broke that promise. Continue to meet our fiscal rules. You broke that promise. Increase investment in science. You're cutting investment in science. Full employment in every region and nation hasn't happened. 2 million extra homeowners by 2010 hasn't happened. Expanding our key motorways hasn't happened. Reassert our commitment to half child poverty by 2010, you failed to do that. Training sixth form and apprenticeships for every young person. In fact, we've got the highest young person unemployment in Western Europe. Why make more promises when you didn't deliver on them?
Well, what rode a coach and horses through a number of those commitments, particularly on tax and public investment, was the economic global downturn. And, you know, that could have simply sent our economy into free fall. And it didn't, because of the intervention and the leadership of Gordon Brown and Alistair Darling, leadership that the rest of the developed world has followed.
Given that that's so important, why does the manifesto make no mention of the £1.4 trillion of national debt that your government's in the process of racking up? Why do you make no mention of that?
Well, what the manifesto deals with in great detail is the first priority, which is cutting the deficit, halving the deficit by 2014.
Doesn't cut the national debt.
And setting out very clearly. So you've got a very clear prescription for cutting the deficit under Labour, and you've got the economics of the fag packet from the Conservatives.
Well, all right. Tessa, Jowell, thank you very much. Don't go away, though. We have more.
We do indeed. Yes,
I'm ready for it.
Yes, you're fired up now, aren't you? Every day, it's northeast.
A-level geography didn't quite get
Not the southeast. But anyway, hugely enjoyable. They'll be exhausted, those dancers.
Were you at school today, Andrew? You'd know.
I do know.
Rising standards.
I got an A in A-level geography.
Well done.
Well, before we are... Oh, yes, that is a show-off. Before we argue about his A-level results, I should say. I mean, Tessa, Jowell, some of the points that came out there, I mean, at the end, the gentleman sitting around the table, one of the gentlemen there said, you just can't tell what the parties are going to do. One of the problems highlighted there by Andrew is manifestos. What do they mean? They can't tell what the party's really going to do because they're full of broken promises right across the board. We had them listed there. I take your point about the fact that the economy obviously changed a lot of things. But if you can't tell what you're going to do, you're not going to be able to get the votes.
Despite that, I mean, one of the figures that Andrew quoted there was in relation to child poverty. Let's take the City of London, where in 1997, nearly 40% of children were living in poverty. That figure is now 23%. There's not one thing you do in order to lift children out of poverty. It's multiple, and as the lady in the film talked about Sure Start has made a major contribution to tackling child poverty. The family income figures...
It also helps a lot of quite well-off families too. It hasn't just been limited to the...
thank goodness, Joe, because we want public services that are good enough for everything. And if Sure Start, is the centre of its community, that means providing a service for children from a whole range of backgrounds so that they grow up together.
But one of the things that was mentioned there, we heard from the lady, she's going to vote Labour. The North East, it's a no-brainer, OK? To some extent, you've got that sewn up. Your problem are in other parts of the country. You really need to persuade people out of Labour heartlands, and you're not doing that.
Well, I don't accept that.
Well, you're doing well in the East and West Midlands. You're doing well in the South East, South West.
Well, let's see. But this is a campaign that's very much being fought at two levels. There's, if you like, the air war, which we're right in the middle of this week with the launch of the manifestos. The arguments about the kind of country we want Britain to be. I think we've set out a very clear vision for that for the future in our manifesto yesterday. But then there's, if you like, the feet on the streets. We have literally tens of thousands of activists knocking on doors up and down the country. And I'll tell you, I have never believed, because I do this, week in, week out, I never believed we were as far behind in the polls as was suggested. Because when you're on people's doorsteps, you get the kind of intelligent, inquiring, probing discussions that we had some of in that film that you've just shown.
Just one final thing, some of the emails...
People do, incidentally, understand the balance between fiscal policy, the money in their pocket, and investment in public services.
OK. Tessa, Jowell, thank you.